Fox News finally cares to some extent about innocent people being killed by U.S. drones. This might be the first time ever they talked about this. Take a look.
Fox News alert. A bombshell new report suggesting Biden's botched exit from Afghanistan was even worse than we thought. According to the New York Times, the ISIS terrorists that Biden supposedly droned in retaliation for the airport attack in Kabul was not an ISIS terrorist after all. He was a U.S. aid worker. In his rush to clean up the mess, his incompetence caused at the airport, where 13 U.S. service members lost their lives, he authorized a drone strike on the wrong guy and likely killed several children as well. Video uncovered by the Times shows that the aid worker was not loading bombs into his car. He was loading bottles of water. Joining me now are two Afghanistan war vets, my fellow Fox and Friends weekend co-host Pete Hegseth and Sean Parnell, retired Army infantry captain. Pete, we were on the air when that drone stroke occurred, and we actually thought, okay, maybe he's finally getting something right here, but we were wrong. Your reaction?
It appears we may be. I mean, first of all, Rachel, I'm always skeptical of the New York Times. I'm always skeptical of international journalists given free access in the now Taliban-controlled Kabul. You don't have this kind of extensive reporting without the approval of the Taliban. So they're trying to, even if it's Joe Biden, they're trying to make America look bad, number one. But if this reporting is correct, then indeed everything you're saying is correct, which is in their haste to make it look like they're doing something, they pushed and pushed and pushed and potentially killed an aid worker who was working on behalf of the United States, which leads to the fact that I have zero confidence in Joe Biden as a commander-in-chief, especially considering the fact that we had threat reporting on the airport at the Abbey Gate in the time period in which our Marines were still allowed to gather the way that they did. And Sean Parnell knows as well as anybody, if you have a threat active on a location, you have two choices. Go on the offense and create a new perimeter, change the dynamics, or refortify your position. And they did neither. So this is a cascading set of decisions by the Biden administration. And now if this reporting's true, tragically, in their desire to make themselves look good, they didn't improve the security situation at all, and the wrong people are dead.
That's astonishing. That they were so careful, and they almost defended Biden. You heard Hegseth there. He's like, well, I'm always skeptical of the New York Times, and they're probably trying to make America look bad, even if it's Joe Biden. Incredible. That's the strongest defense of Biden I've ever seen, and it's after he droned innocent people. Amazing, amazing. Now, they still tried to have their cake and eat it too, like, let's attack him a little bit, but also sort of defend him. If this is true, maybe it's true. It's true. And we got the reports a day after from people on the ground. It was all over Twitter. It took now, a couple weeks later, the New York Times reports on it, and now they maybe take it seriously. It's amazing who they discount and who they accept. But anyway, so yeah, the New York Times said we didn't kill a terrorist. We killed a U.S. aid worker and civilians and children. And they say he wasn't loading bombs. He was loading bottles of water, and we bombed them thinking it was bombs, or that was the rationale they gave. Incredible. I mean, so just to show you, he says, well, this is why I don't trust Biden as commander-in-chief. Look at what he did here. Well, Trump's very first military act as president, an 8-year-old American girl was killed in a Yemen raid that he approved. It was Anwar al-Awlaki's daughter, Nawar, and she was fatally shot in an intelligence operation that was supposed to be on Al-Qaeda, but 14 people died, and at least one of them was this girl, and there were other civilians as well. An American girl was killed. Did anybody on Fox News come out and say, well, I don't trust Trump as commander-in-chief. He just killed a little girl. By the way, Obama had a 90% civilian death rate on the drones. Under Trump, he got rid of the few remaining safeguards there were, like the rules of engagement to use those drones. He got rid of it, and we massively increased drone strikes by 432%. At no point did these people say, well, I can't trust Trump now as the commander-in-chief because of that. Here's the reality. You shouldn't have trusted Obama as commander-in-chief. You shouldn't have trusted Trump as commander-in-chief. You shouldn't trust Biden as commander-in-chief, because this is what they do. this is what happens. Whether it's the drone war, whether it's using fighter jets, whether it's approving these raids on the ground. I mean, it's a clusterfuck every single time. And the idea that, like, we have such laser precision-guided missiles that we could kill a mosquito from 100 miles away. Nonsense! It's utter nonsense. This is, unfortunately, what happened here with Biden is emblematic of the entire war in Afghanistan and the entire war in Iraq. It was really more about, exploiting the region and getting the natural resources and the military-industrial complex profits, and then you have this cover story, and every now and then you mow the grass and kill innocent civilians and pretend like, we killed the terrorists. This is what went on in Afghanistan, for sure. And they walk on eggshells at first. I don't know. They're trying to make America look bad. Usually droning people's great or whatever. But ultimately, they are expressing some degree of concern over this. They never would do it under a Republican president. Fact of the matter is, the media should do this under every president. George W. Bush was a war criminal. Obama's a war criminal. Trump's a war criminal. Biden's a war criminal. Yes, talk about it like that and hold them accountable. They never do. This is the first time Fox News has cared about drone strikes, and it happens to be under a Democratic president where they could use this to say Biden bad, which is what they did. They, again, try to have their cake and eat it too. At first, they're like, I don't know. Maybe the reporting is wrong. Maybe we're pro-drone striking innocent civilians. But ultimately, they use it to go after him. It's just a great example of how they're partisan hacks, and it has nothing to do with the actual issues in question. Well, you know where to go to get concern among all of the administrations. I'll tell you the truth, because I'm against these drone strikes on innocent people as a matter of principle. And I don't care whether there's a Democrat or a Republican in office. The way it should be is you care and you hold power accountable.